Hello everyone, my name is Desiree Lacombes. I am your teacher for today's lecture video. And now, for our topic for today's lecture is all about the Philippines principles and philosophy of Philippine education. Our learning objectives is state and discuss the principles and philosophies of education. Second is understanding the historical and cultural context of Philippine education. Third is developing an understanding of the role of education in Philippine society. Philosophy of education and Philippine setting. Philosophy can be defined as a systematic study of life and the universe as a whole in order to frame a logical and necessary system of general ideas so that every element of human experience may be interpreted. So philosophy in education can help educators and students think critically about the aims and methods of education and to develop a more coherent and integrated approach to teaching and learning. By exploring different philosophical perspectives on education, educators can gain a deeper understanding of the underlying principles that inform their teaching and can better articulate their educational goals and objectives. So according to Gregorio, the problems of how children ought to learn and inquire into the meaning of reality are fundamentals to education. So it means education is not just about transmitting information, but also about developing students' critical thinking skills and helping them to make sense of the world around them. By encouraging students to inquire into the meaning of reality, educators can foster a love of learning and a curiosity about the world that can serve them well throughout their lives. The teacher plays a key role in delivering the quality education to the students by having good motivation in every discussion. So it means effective teaching requires not only mastery of subject matter, but also a depth understanding of how students learn and how to facilitate their learning. Um, the best teachers are those who are passionate about their subject matter and who are able to motivate and inspire their students to learn. The teachers serve as the facilitator that will enable the students to think, well, organize their thoughts and make a product out of these ideas. The teacher's role is not simply to impart information, but also to help students develop the skills and habits of mind that will enable them to be successful in their academic and professional lives. This in this requires a deep understanding of pedagogy as well as a willingness to adapt teaching strategies to meet the needs of individual students. So according to Gregorio, there are various schools of philosophy. So these are the following. First one is the philosophy of idealism. Knowledge is independent of the sense of experience. These are the different types of idealistic philosophy. First is objectivism. So now let's um, identify the idealism. The philosophy of idealism is a broad and complex field of thought that has been explored by many Greek thinkers throughout history. At its core, idealism is the belief that the ultimate reality is a non-material, spiritual realm that transcends the physical world that we experience through our senses. One of the key tenets of idealism is the idea that knowledge is independent of the sense of experience. This means that knowledge is not derived solely from our physical senses, but also from our mental faculties, such as reason and intuition. According to idealism, our knowledge of the world is not limited to what we can observe through our senses, but extends beyond this to include concepts, ideas, and principles that are not directly perceptible. So Gregorian classifications of various schools of philosophy is a helpful way to understand the diversity and complexity of philosophical thoughts. So objectivism emphasizes the objective and real independence of ideas that forms the substance of every object exists independently of the human perceiver. So objectivism emphasizes the objective and real independence of ideas and sees ideas as forming the substance of every object that exists independently of human perception. Subjectivism. It emphasizes the subjective mental state of the human mind. So it means subjectivism, on the other hand, emphasizes the subjective mental state of human mind and views reality as being constructed by the individual's thoughts and perception. Next is organic. It emphasizes the holistic state of mind that is unity throughout the universe. So it means organic idealism emphasizes the holistic state of mind that is unity throughout the universe. It holds that the spiritual realm is not separate from the physical world, but rather that they are interconnected and interdependent. Next, last one of the idealistic philosophy types is personalism, which rejects the impersonal description of infinite mind and emphasizes the individual phenomena of the personal mind. Personalism rejects the impersonal description of infinite mind and, and it emphasizes the individual phenomena of the personal mind. It holds that individuals have unique experience that cannot be reduced to universal or objective description. So in overall, these different schools of thoughts within idealism reflects the diverse ways in which philosophers have grappled with the nature of reality and the role of knowledge in our understanding of the world. By examining understanding these different schools of thoughts, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the complexity and richness of philosophical inquiry. Now, the second one is the philosophy of realism. It's an attempt to portray life as it is. The realist believes that the world is made of real, substantial material entities. So it means um, the philosophy of realism emphasizes the importance of portraying life as it is. So realists believe that the world is made of real, substantial materials entities that can be perceived and studied through empirical observation. So this philosophy emphasized the importance of objective observation, analysis, and empirical evidence in understanding the world. The third is the philosophy of humanism. It is teaching all persons with dignity and worth. So it means the philosophy of humanism focuses on the inherent dignity and worth of all individuals. This philosophy emphasizes the importance of teaching and nurturing individuals in a way that recognize their unique qualities and potential. Humanism encourages a focus on the individual as a whole person, including their physical, emotional, social, and spiritual aspects. The fourth is philosophies of experimentalism and pragmatism. It is closely related philosophies. Experimentalism and pragmatism aim of education is the development of the total child through experiencing and through the use of the theory of self-activity. So, so it means the experimentalism and pragmatism are closely related philosophies that emphasize the importance of practical experience and self-activity and education. So these philosophies hold that education should be focused on the development of the total child through hands-on learning and application of theoretical concepts to practical situations. The goal of education is to develop critical thinking skills and problem-solving abilities that can be applied in real-world situations. So fifth is the philosophy of scholasticism. It is stressing on the idea that man is national being that possesses a body and soul. So, the philosophy of scholasticism stresses the importance of the unity of body and soul in human beings. So, this philosophy holds that man is a rational being with a physical body and a soul and a spiritual soul, and that education should aim to develop the whole person by nurturing both the body and soul. So, this philosophy emphasized the importance of a well-rounded education that focuses on both intellectual and spiritual development. So next is mm, the philosophy of progressi- progressivism. It means the philosophy it emphasizes learning as a process rather than a product. They believe that education should be centered around the interests and needs of the learner, with a focus on developing critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration skills. They advocate for experiential learning and project-based approaches to education, where students can actively engage with the material and develop their own understanding through exploration and experimentation. Seven is the philosophy of existentialism. Is that reality is a matter of individual existence, that each human being exists in a world that is without purpose and is fundamentally absurd. So it means the philosophy of existentialism emphasizes individual existence and the meaning of life. It believes that individuals are responsible for creating their own meaning in life, and that existence is fundamentally subjective. They reject the idea that there is a universal purpose or meaning to life, and instead emphasize the importance of personal freedom and choice in determining one's own destiny. The last one is analytic philosophy, is also known as analysis. Analytic philosophy asserts that man is different from the other animals to the extent that he can do to engage in reflection. Analytical philosophy, also known as analysis, yes, it emphasizes the importance of logic, reason, and language in philosophy. Analytical philosophers believe that the meaning of a statement can be understood by analyzing its logical structure, and that philosophy can be understood through a careful analysis of language. They seek to clarify concepts and ideas by breaking them down into their component parts and analyzing them systematically. Analytic philosophy is often associated with a scientific approach to philosophy and a rejection of metaphysical or abstract concepts that cannot be grounded in empirical evidence. So, overall, these different schools of philosophy provide a rich and diverse set of perspective on education and on life more generally. So, by studying and understanding these different philosophies, we can deepen our understanding of the world and and of ourselves, and develop a more nuanced and comprehensive view of the human experience. And now let's proceed to all the seven principles of education. First is student-centered learning. The principle emphasizes the importance of designing and delivering education that is focused on the needs and interests of the students. So student-centered learning is important because it puts the student at the center of the learning experience and recognizes that each student is unique and has their own individual learning styles, interests, and strengths. This approach allows for more personalized instructions and helps to foster a sense of ownership and engagement in the learning process. Student-centered learning is an important approach to education because it recognizes the unique needs and strengths of each student and provides a more personalized and engaging learning experience that can lead to improved academic outcomes and the development of important skills. Second is active learning. This principle encourages students to actively participate in the learning process, engaging with the content and applying their knowledge through activities such as discussion, problem solving, and group work. So, active learning is an approach to education that emphasizes active participation by students in the learning process. It involves engaging students in hands-on, interactive activities that encourage them to think critically, solve problems, and apply what they have learned in practical settings. Active learning is an important approach to education that can help to improve learning outcomes, develop critical thinking skills, increase student engagement, and prepare students for real-world application of their knowledge. The third one is collaboration. This principle emphasizes the importance of collaboration and teamwork among students, as well as between students and instructors. So collaboration is an important aspect of learning because it helps students develop important skills such as teamwork, critical thinking, communication, and accountability. It also promotes and diversity and inclusion, which are important values in today's global society. Next is learning environment. This principle emphasizes the importance of creating a positive and supportive learning environment that promotes student engagement and motivation. So it means the learning environment is the physical and social setting in which learning takes place. It includes the classroom, school and community, as well as the relationship between student, teachers, and other stakeholders. The learning environment plays a crucial role in student learning and well-being and success. A positive and supportive learning environment can help to foster a love of learning, promote creativity and innovation, and support the diverse needs of all learners. Fifth is diversity and inclusion. These principles emphasize the importance of valuing and respecting diversity in all its forms and creating inclusive learning environments that accommodate the needs of all learners. So it means diversity and inclusion are important values in education and in society. They help to promote understanding, respect, creativity, and innovation, while also preparing students for the real world and supporting social justice. Six is feedback and assessment. This principle emphasizes the importance of providing regular and timely feedback to students on their learning progress and using various forms of assessment to measure and evaluate learning outcomes. So, it means um, feedback and assessments are essential components of the learning process. They support learning, encourage self-reflection, provide accountability, guide instructions, and support decision-making. By incorporating feedback and assessment into the learning process, we can help students achieve their academic goals and improve the quality of education for all students. Seven is continuous improvement. This principle emphasizes the importance of ongoing reflection and continuous improvement in teaching and learning practice in order to achieve better learning outcomes for students. Continuous improvement is important because it focuses on ongoing growth and development. By striving for continuous improvement, educators can support student achievement, encourage innovation, promote collaboration, foster accountability, and support data-driven decision-making. This can lead to improved outcomes for all students and a stronger education system. And now, the philosophy of Philippine, and now let's proceed to the philosophy of Philippine education. The philosophy of Philippine education is grounded in the belief that education is a right that should be accessible to all individuals, regardless of their Socioeconomic background. The philosophy
Mhm.
of Philippine education emphasized the importance of accessible, holistic, and lifelong learning that promotes national pride and encourage partnerships among stakeholders. Um, these values reflect the Philippine commitment to providing quality education to all individuals regardless of their socioeconomic status and to develop strong and vibrant society. And now, let's proceed to pre-Spanish period. Education was informal, unstructured, and devoid of methods. Children were provided more vocational training and less academics 3 hours by their parents and in the houses of tribal tutors. So during the pre-Spanish period in the Philippines, the philosophy of education was centered on the concept of pag-aaral, which means to study or learn. The educational system was focused on practical skills and knowledge that were necessary for daily life, such as farming, fishing, weaving, and hunting. The pre-Spanish period in the Philippines saw an educational system that was informal, unstructured, and focused on vocational training. While there was no formal curriculum or teaching methods, education was still valued and seen as an important part of daily life. The emphasis on practical skills and oral traditions helped to enforce cultural values and promote the development of a strong and a vibrant society. The, the philosophy of education during the pre-Spanish period in the Philippines was focused on the practical skills and knowledge, as well as on the transmission of cultural values through oral traditions and storytelling. Education was seen as a means of developing a strong and a vibrant society and of ensuring that important cultural traditions and values were preserved and passed down to future generations. Next is Spanish era. The tribal tutors were replaced by the Spanish missionaries. The education is religion-oriented for the elite, provided for the establishment of at least one primary schools for boys and girls in each town under the responsibility of the municipal government. It establishment of normal school for male teachers under the supervision on the Jesuits. Primary instructions was free and the teaching of Spanish was compulsory. Education during the period was inadequate, suppressed and controlled. So in Spanish era in the Philippines saw significant changes in the educational system. The Spanish colonizers replaced the tribal tutors with Spanish missionaries, who introduced a new religion-oriented education system. This education system was primarily focused on the needs of the elite, and the education of the masses was largely neglected. The Spanish education system was established to promote the Catholic faith and to produce educated individuals who could help the Spanish government run the colony more efficiently. The establishment of primary schools for boys and girls in each town was a significant step forward, but the education provided was often inadequate and controlled by the Spanish authorities. So education during this period was also heavily influenced by the Catholic Church, and the teaching of Spanish was made compulsory. This made it difficult for non-Spanish speaking Filipinos to access education and contribute to the suppression of local language and cultures. The establishment of a normal school for male teachers and under the supervision of the Jesuits was an important development, but access to this school was limited to only a few individuals. The quality of education provided was often poor, and there were few opportunities for further education or training. So, in overall, the Spanish era in the Philippines saw significant changes in the educational system, but the education provided was often inadequate and controlled by the Spanish authorities. The focus on religion and the needs of the elite meant that the education of the masses was largely neglected, and the teaching of Spanish made it difficult for non-Spanish speaking Filipino to access education. And now let's proceed to the American era. Education should be universal and free regardless of sex, age, religion, and socioeconomic status of individual. This means of giving people an orientation toward a democratic way of life, carried out by the civilian teachers of English called Thomasites. So in American era, the Thomasites believed that the education should be accessible to all individuals, regardless of their sex, age, religion, or socioeconomic status. They recognized that education was a fundamental right and that it had the power to transform individuals and society as a whole. By providing universal and free education, the Thomasites hoped to give people an orientation toward a democratic way of life, one that valued freedom, equality, and justice. The Thomasites were civilian teachers of English who were instrumental in the establishment of the Philippine public school system. They brought with them modern teaching methods and materials, and they worked hard to train Filipino teachers who would take over the responsibility of educating the country's youth. The Thomasites' contribution to Philippine education was significant, and they laid the foundation for a more inclusive and accessible educational system. So in today's principle of universal and free education, it remains an important goal for the Philippine educational system. Next, now let's proceed to aims of education. Philosophical analysts are interested in improving the educator's concepts about education and the ways these concepts are used. One of the first steps is to become acutely aware of language and its potential. So, the aims of education refer to the goals or objectives that the educational system seeks to achieve. So, the aims of education can vary depending on the context and the goals of the society and the individuals being educated. Philosophical analysts are interested in exploring and improving educators' concepts about education and the way these concepts are used. One of the first steps in exploring the aims of education is to become acutely aware of language and its potential. Language is a powerful tool for shaping our understanding of the world and the goals we seek to achieve. Thus, it is important to critically examine the language used to describe the aims of education and to explore the underlying assumptions and values that are embedded in this language. Curriculum used to be viewed as something established to achieve certain ends, but it seems that today the ends have from the curriculum itself. So, traditionally, the curriculum has been viewed as something established to achieve certain ends. However, there is a growing recognition that the ends of education are not predetermined, but emerge from the curriculum itself. This means that the aims of education are not fixed, but are um, but our challenge remain. The commitment to providing education to all individuals, regardless of their backgrounds or circumstances, remains a cornerstone of Philippine education. And now, Peter spoke about justification of education rather than mere aims. He pointed to at least four considerations that help people situate the meaning of education to arrive at better educational aims. First is education is more than mere specialized skills because it includes developing one's capacity to reason, justifying beliefs and conduct, knowing the why as well as the what of things and organizing experience in terms of systematic conceptions. So, um, constantly, evolving and responsive to changing societal needs and values. This requires a more dynamic and flexible approach to curriculum development and one that allows for ongoing reflection and adaptation in response to changing contexts and needs. In summary, the aims of education are complex and multi-phase and are shaped by a range of factors, including societal needs, values, and goals. Philosophical analysis can help to deepen our understanding of the aims of education and to promote ongoing reflections and adaptation in response to changing contexts and needs. So, in Peter's thoughts about the justification of education, highlights the importance of understanding the deeper purpose and meaning behind education beyond just the surface level aims. By focusing on our 4K consideration, Peter encouraged us to situate education within a broader context and to think critically about its role and significance. So first, Peter emphasized that education is not just about acquiring special skills, but it's also about developing one's capacity to reason, justify beliefs and conduct, and organize experience in systematic ways. So this highlights the importance of critical thinking and the ability to evaluate information and arguments in a rigorous and systematic manner. So the second one is education is more than mere specialized knowledge and includes developing one's cognitive perspective, expanding moral understanding, and developing aesthetic appreciations. So, and Peter argues that education is not just about acquiring a specialized knowledge, but also about developing a broader cognitive perspective, moral understanding, and aesthetic appreciation. This highlights the importance of a well-rounded education that cultivates a broad range of intellectual and emotional capacities. Third is education includes doing and knowing things for their own sake, for the joy of doing and knowing. So, Peter emphasized the importance of doing and knowing things for their own sake, for the joy of doing and of not and knowing. So this highlights the in- intrinsic value of education and the importance of cultivating a love of learning for its own sake. So, next, last one is education is the process by which people are initiated into their particular lifestyles. So, finally, Peter argues that education is the process by which people are initiated into their particular lifestyles. This highlights the importance of education in shaping identity and providing individuals with the tools and knowledge they need to navigate and participate in their particular social and cultural context. Taken together, Peter's thoughts on the justification of education encourage us to think more deeply about the meaning and purpose of education and to develop a more nuanced understanding of its aims and significance. And now, that's all for my um, topic for today's video. Have a bliss and good day. And that's all. Thank you and goodbye.